All right, we are back here on the Just and the Suffering podcast, talking Marvel today, talking what if, and here to figure out what would happen if we did a Marvel podcast today is the pop culture correspondent of the podcast, Sam Derosa here. Sam, how are you?
Great. How are you, Mike?
Doing pretty good. We're gonna start off with a what if. Like, what if you were the host of this podcast? How would this go?
It would not be as organized, or probably would not have gone as long because my ADD brain can't handle this consistency.
Okay, well, that's good to know. So, podcast audience, be happy that was not the what if scenario went down. So,
I enjoy that first question because
Yeah.
I'm not good at keeping things like consistent like that. Like I'd be like, oh, do this, and then it's just like nothing, like no follow through.
That's true. And speaking of some follow through, Marvel is on a roll with that right now. They are into their phase 4 content. 3 shows are done. The movie Black Widow finally come out. Now we are into the world of what if. We got a bunch of animated episodes. I think it's 9 or 10 coming out every Wednesday on Disney Plus. And when you saw that this was the topic before you even saw the trailer, like what were you expecting heading into the show?
I honestly had no idea what to expect. To be honest, I'm just like animated. I'm like, because my whole deal with the whole Star Wars animated, like Clone Wars film or TV show. I apologize, and film, I guess. But I'm like, I was like weirdly like looking forward to it just because it's anything new in Marvel. Just tickles my fancy, to be honest.
Yeah, and I did love this idea for the fact it's something that kind of throws you back to the comic book feel a little bit because it's animated, which I did look forward to seeing that. I like the idea, and it's something that like my friend Nick Frietta, one of the Sky guys, talk on the Star Wars podcast. It's like all these things. It's like it's always fun to have these sort of ideas in your head. Like, what would have happened if Peggy Carter was a super soldier instead of Steve Rogers? But what would have happened if Thanos uses his Infinity Stones to create infinite resources instead of trying to destroy half a life? Stuff like that's always fun.
Yeah, and it's funny too because like as much as like a creative person I think I am, I would have never thought like Peggy being, like Agent Carter being, the super soldier. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, wow, that was so creative. It's like so simple, so straightforward, but meanwhile, like my small brain's like, that's so intense.
Yeah. Intense. And I'm going to throw the spoiler warning up here for people who are watching I've not watched the show yet. So all right, you've been warned. If you did not watch the premiere of Marvel's What If, you can go ahead, dip out of here, go watch it. It's about 30 minutes. Come back in, watch, and listen to the podcast now. I will say this was fun. I did enjoy having Jeffrey Wright be the Watcher, the voice of the Watcher. I thought that was a good voice casting pull.
Right. And it's funny too, because I feel like, with him, the whole thing with Westworld and everything that we've discussed, he was like the perfect candidate.
Yeah, he was great. I loved hearing him come in. And it was nice also that they got the vast majority of the voice actors from Captain America in there. Obviously, I mean, Chris Evans is not there. That's a little disappointing, but they got everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny because I like wrote, like, I know you guys can't see it. I have the worst handwriting.
YouTube, you can see it.
I have like I have these like random written notes, and the first thing I wrote was big names voicing.
Yeah.
Was like my first thing. I was like, wow, like I was so impressed that like they had like Sebastian Stan and everybody because low key love that guy because he's so cool.
Yes, I mean some of the voice actors there, Peggy, like Haley Atwell's back as Peggy Carter, Dominic Cooper is Howard Stark, Sebastian Stan is Bucky again. The rest of this. I forget what the name of the group is, but like the rest of the soldiers are all voiced of the same people. Toby Jones is back. Like everybody's there except for.
Yeah. And then they have Stanley Tucci and they have
Ross Marquand.
West Wing.
Yeah.
I can't think of that poor man's name.
Bradley Whitford.
Yes. Thank you. I'm like, I just think of him as Joshua from West Wing. I know that sounds so bad, but.
Yeah, they did a good job getting the voice cast in here. So I thought it was fun. They give you the story of basically they say, okay, what if one thing changed in this whole alternate path? And the one thing that changed is in Captain America, this is the first Avenger. Peggy Carter stays in the room instead of going up to the observation box. Because she's there, she triggers the guy to act early and set the bomb off. Like Steve gets shot, she has to jump in the thing that when we had the fun half-hour adventure, what happens if her being Captain Carter instead of Steve being Captain America? I thought that was fun.
Yeah, too. And then like I know it's a what if, but like the first, what was it, like 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Like you shot Steve Rogers. I thought he was dead for a minute. I was so upset for like a full 30 seconds.
Yeah, and we have a lot of fun like content here. Still a lot of Marvel stuff, but if you've seen the movie, like it adds to it, like what happens here, because you see her go in, they go storm the base. She manages to basically beat the crap out of a bunch of German soldiers, steal the Tesseract back. This is the Dominic Cooper, Howard Stark, and we basically see that he basically builds a proto Iron Man suit for Skinny Steve, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, that was really cool. The Hydra Stomper.
Yeah.
I thought it was like so interesting. But like also, I know this is like more historical, but how bad does it look to be like, have the Union Jack on the shield because of like going to like history classes, like how bad Great Britain was throughout the whole world. I'm like, ooh, harsh undertones there.
Yeah, I have to say, I definitely enjoyed it. I thought it was nice to have a quick half hour. We weren't wandering around doing too much. We still had plenty of action. I thought it was cool because obviously, because anime, they can do more stuff than would do if this was live action. It costs a lot of money.
Oh, totally. And then my thing is like, can they keep things like cohesive, like all in one timeline, or are they going to be like jumping back and forth? Like, I feel like they have so many different, avenues to choose from.
Well, I mean, the fact that they kind of wrap this one up pretty neatly in a bow at the end of the episode, kind of feel like they have like 9 or 10 self-contained stories of like, what if this happened? Here's what would be the repercussion. I feel like that's where they're going here.
True. And then like wasn't that Hawkeye at the end?
It was Jeremy Renner did voice Hawkeye.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is like, why is it Hawkeye? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's going to lead to something different down the line.
It absolutely could. And I think the fun thing here was like, obviously we get the ending where instead of having like in the original timeline where Steve Rogers gets frozen under the sea and he stays there for 70 years, Peggy Carter basically just has to fight back a giant octopus and just shoves him back into a wormhole and pops out 70 years later when Furious Tesseract, instead of having Loki pop out like the original Avengers, she pops out.
Yeah.
And
that gave major Jumanji vibes of when Robin Williams jumps back into time.
Yeah. I thought it was fun. I was like, it's fun they put this right after Loki, like when we see the Loki end with the whole multiverse being created and all of that. I think it's fun that we sort of say, here's some of the possibilities he could have created because Sylvie broke the timeline by killing He Who Remains.
Yeah, and then I'm thinking like, do you think that down the line there could be a character, the Watcher, the Guide? You know what I mean? Because like, yes, he's the narrator in this whole series right now, but like he could be a character that's like kind of like, he could technically be a timekeeper.
Yeah. Yeah, I would not surprise me if they have Jeffrey Wright on the payroll. Not be surprised at some point in a future movie they just bring him into a live action version somehow.
Yeah.
It's like for me, like the spot I think would have been that Doctor Strange movie. I think that's where they haven't heard any rumors of him being cast in it. So like that'd be one I would not be surprised. They want to try and tie it again, maybe like a post-credit scene. He shows up.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with you there because I know how Marvel tries to be super sneaky, and at the end they're like not that sneaky.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I do think also with this show, the one thing I also really enjoy was like the animation quality also was very good. They use kind of that cell shading technique that I think it's not like more of a Clone Wars style where it's like, I forget, it's more like 3D-ish. This was more cell shaded. I think it worked for the look of the characters.
Exactly. And it's so funny too. Again, I wrote like, I like the comic book type animation.
Yeah.
I also wrote that down. If we wanted to go back to look at my lovely notes, for all the YouTube watchers out there.
Yeah, they're there. I did enjoy this a lot. I think this show has so much potential, which is I'm glad that their rumors has already been renewed for a second season, which I think is good because the possibilities really are endless. A show like this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like there's so many avenues, and then again, like with Doctor Strange, they could see this in a different way with the multiverse, and they could probably bring up WandaVision. And it's just like I just like that they're given so many different storylines, I guess.
Yeah.
To give this a story or give multiple stories for the show.
Yeah, let's play the what if game for a minute. So like if you were in charge here and thinking back to like anything in the Marvel universe, any of the comics you read back in the day, like if they're a what if that you would want to see them do?
I definitely hope that this season, also just in general, I want to do the what if it was switched, Black Widow and Hawkeye.
Oh, so like if Black Widow was the one who didn't die on board, or Hawkeye jumped into his death.
Yes, because like the whole movie with Black Widow, with her sister and everything. Like I want to see how life would be if she got to reconnect with everybody.
Yeah, I think my big one, which I love to see, I don't know if they're gonna do it, is like, what if Civil War doesn't happen? What if they, like, instead of fighting in the air, actually talk things out and don't fracture the entire Avengers ahead of Thanos coming in? Like, you feel like that could make things very different.
I feel like that's a great one, because
Yeah.
you know, I feel like they just like really tore each other apart and wasted, you know, so much time where they could be like, you know, buddy and like fighting crime and whatnot. But of course, that lovely movie, I don't hate it. It's just a sad movie.
Think of it, it's just another fun one. I don't know if they will do Spring Spider. It's like, what if Ned got bit by the spider? That would be funny also.
That'd be so great. I feel like I see those all the time.
Yeah.
Or like what if Wanda and her brother never got like the superpowers?
Yeah, I try and look at these. I'm curious to see, like, with the directions they take it, like if any of these do sort of lead into sort of live action ideas down the line. Because this is something that, like, if one of these really takes off, like all of a sudden they decide, oh, Captain Carter was great. Like, they could like call up Haley Atwell and say, hey, let's do like a find out Captain Carter show or something like that. I could see something like that happening.
I feel like she would do it too, because she did Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and everything.
Yeah, they had her own show. They had Agent Carter back in the day too. Like, that was fun.
Yeah.
I think they never utilized her properly in the MCU.
No, I feel like maybe they just brought her on too soon. It was like too soon of like, you know, our time kind of deal for it to be like a leading woman show, unfortunately. But
yeah, I will say I'm looking forward to the rest of the season also, because I like to see like where they're going some of these storylines. I knew though that like the great Chadwick Boseman did record his dialogue as T'Challa there. I know there's one What If coming where basically he gets like taken by Yondu instead of Star-Lord, so like he becomes the Star-Lord. I think that would be fun too to see that.
That's really cool. I mean, whoever thinks of these is so creative, like blows my mind.
Yeah. I'm also curious to see how many of the big voice actors we get coming into the rest of the show, because obviously we didn't get Chris Evans. We got a lot of we got everybody else from Captain America. It's like, do we get RDJ? Do we get Chris Hemsworth? I'm curious about that.
See, my thing is, like you said, it's renewed for a second season.
Yeah.
So I bet you, like, if this does well this season, they'll probably sign up for season 2.
Yeah, because like compared to like some of the other compared to Clone Wars, my personal experience with it, like they don't really have. I mean, in the movie version, they have Samuel L. Jackson as Mace Windu, and they have Christopher Lee as Dooku. But like in the actual show, it's just like C-3PO is the only guy like Anthony Daniels voices him every episode he's in. But like the rest of them are all like voice alikes or whatever, which I think it'd be interesting to see if they'll maintain this level of voice acting quality for the rest of the run. I
mean, it sounded like really good. The guy who did Chris Evans, I thought did a good job.
Yeah, I believe his name was Jacob Heaton. I saw it was Healy, I think, in there, but like he did a great job, like sounding like him.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I was just like, wow, it kind of sounded like Chris Evans, where I stuck around to look to see whose name was it.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see that. I think, are there any other shows you want to see, like a what if, any other franchise, see what if kind of like series? What would you think would be fun to do something like this with?
My God, I feel like there's just so many. I'm just thinking about your Spider-Man one. It's just stuck in my head, but I would like to see maybe like, because I don't know, it's just going from what we just saw in episode 1, maybe like a Pepper Potts being like Iron Man. You know what I mean? Like something a little different like that.
That'd be clever.
Yeah, I mean, like I know it's totally taking from episode 1, because that's just where my brain is from just watching it just for today, like it being premiere day.
Yeah. I'd say like what other media franchises, not just like Marvel, like if we do like another thing, like with another like thing, like would you want to see like the what if in the Harry Potter world, or like what if?
Oh, you mean like opening up to anything?
Anything, like any franchise.
Well, definitely Harry Potter, because I'm not gonna lie, I'm a huge Ron Weasley fan. I've been a Ron Weasley fan since day one, like because he's low key big. But then again, like Neville being like the Harry Potter version, that'd be really cool to see a what if. But then I guess like for like a Star Wars kind of deal, like a what if it was like Han Solo, because I feel like Han Solo would just like run away, you know what I mean, because he like had to learn to, you know, not just be like a looter kind of deal, but like
yeah, I think Star Wars to me is the winner. There's so many different possibilities. There's so much content out there. It's like, I mean, you obviously have the big one, like what happens if Anakin doesn't fall to the dark side? That's obviously number one, like the what if happens there. Then you have Also, it's like, why was it Qui-Gon lived? Like, that's also fun. Or like,
Yeah.
what if Maul became the Emperor of the Galaxy instead of Palpatine? That would be fun also.
Oh yeah, and then what we were talking about, how it became Darth Jar Jar Binks, like how stupid and evil he would be all at the same time.
Like, what if Jar Jar actually knew what he was doing?
Yeah, I mean, he would probably be evil, but he'd probably be the worst evil. He'd be like Dr. Doofenshmirtz from Phineas and Ferb. I truly believe that level of evil would just be Jar Jar Binks.
For my personal favorite, what if they weren't cheap in episode 6, decided to do it with Whoopi instead of Ewoks?
Ooh, I feel like that would be like badass instead of like kind of lame.
Yeah, that was although 83, they wanted to sell the teddy bears to the kids. So
yeah, no, I listened to your last podcast and I didn't even know that. It was like a new fun fact for me.
Yeah, because I had done the research on that. I looked it up. I'm like, like the Ewoks kind of suck. And I said, it was going to be Wookiees, and they changed it the last minute. I'm like, why?
Well, it makes a lot of sense once you said it. It's just like, well, like, it's easy to sell to kids and whatnot.
Yeah. Plus production wise, I think it was cheaper to have Ewok houses than finding a bunch of tall people with Wookiees.
Yeah. Cause like, I feel like, you even have to, like for Big Bird and Sesame Street, they had to have a guy in stilts and you have to be trained in stilts, and it piles on for the amount of money for each, thing.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be a fun season for sure. I've got 9 episodes of this. And I think this has a chance to be the best of all the MCU shows. I know Loki and WandaVision are very popular. I think this one could top them.
You know what? I hope so. And I hope it gets enough clout and it gets enough popularity for it to grow and everything for, especially for us Marvel fans. I feel like we're jonesing for all new content.
Yeah, this is a fascinating litmus test on Marvel, because a lot of times with the animation, a lot of people think like adults think, oh, like animation is for children. Like we don't need to watch animated properties. But then my thing was, if you ever watch Into the Spider-Verse, that sort of changed my take on it, because you can make a great animated movie for adults and have it work. And I think this one, I think, is sort of the litmus test on Marvel, where they could say if this works, we have more possibilities to play with besides live action.
And then also that too, I feel like I learned my lesson with Clone Wars.
Yeah.
I missed that. So when Mandalorian came around, I'm like, what is this? Oh, everybody's saying Clone Wars. How could I have missed that? And it's just well, because I thought it was a kid's show. So now I'm like, no, everything I'm going to watch. I don't care if it's animated, if it's live action, whatever. If it's a book, I'll read it. I'm trying to get my hands on everything.
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations also where you look at the material, you say, I think the animated stuff, it does obviously lend to kids for obvious reasons, but there is good stuff in there. I mean, not everything is great. I mean, Bad Batch for Star Wars has been very uneven in its first season so far, and we're recording prior to the end of it, so we'll see what happens there. I'll talk about it next week on the podcast of the Sky Guys when we do season 1 of Rebels. And that show I'm enjoying that one a lot, and it was targeted to kids, but there's still plenty of interesting stuff in there.
Well, see, this is why you can't write anything off.
Yeah, you cannot. And Sam, that's all the time I have today. I want to thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. Before I let you go, be a follow on social media, give us some of the stuff you're up to.
You can find me on Twitter at SDEROS5, on Instagram, Facebook. Just Google me. I'll be there.
All right. That sounds good. Thanks again, Sam.
Thank you.